letting people in, and we're going to basically get started here just a moment. And I say just a moment, I really mean a moment. I think, Stacy, if you're good, I'm going to go ahead and start talking. And
go ahead.
All right. So welcome, everyone. My name is Sonny Grint, and I am so excited you're here. I work with Singer Sewing Machines, and I'm really proud to be here with Michaels and you all, working with just basically how to really get used to and work with your sewing machines. So I'm thrilled again to be here. This is part, I just want to let you guys know, this is part of a 5-part series. So we're going to start today with like talk the talk. When you open up your sewing machine box and you get stuff out and then you start reading, what does all that stuff mean, right? So I think we're going to start with that, give you some tools that you really want to make sure you have. And then next week, we're going to go into threading, and the week after that, stitching. And so we're just going to take this in little chunks. So hopefully that'll help us all and we can get through this. So really, again, excited to be here. Now, when we started talking about this class, it was actually trying to figure out the best way to move forward. And if you think about it, everyone, I see some of you up there on the top of my screen, you know, you open up your sewing machine, you take it out of the box, you set it on the counter or on a table or whatever, and it's like you start reading and someone says, well, you want to go thread through the take-up lever, or you want to turn the hand wheel, or you want to change a presser foot. And there are a lot of people, myself included, when I first started, guys, I had no idea what that meant. Is there anyone out there? You can raise your hand. I mean, yes, I see a couple of you. Yeah, it's like, what in the world? It is a completely foreign language almost. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to kind of do what I'm going to call a tour of a sewing machine. Okay, so we're going to tour the sewing machine and make sure we know what the different things are. Now, everyone, you may not have the exact sewing machine. I'm actually working on my Singer Heavy Duty, which is a beautiful machine. I've got a couple other of our Singer machines in the back, the M1000 and also our Singer SM, and I always get that number wrong, so I have to look, the SM024, and also our M340. All sewing machines basically have the same parts. It's just locating it on your machine. So what I recommend is when we go through today, we're going to talk about the different parts, and then you go to your sewing machine and find the pieces as you're going through. So that's kind of how I'm going to run this today. So again, let's get started. I'm going to back away just a little bit so we can actually use my, my other camera so we can look at our machines a little bit different. When you do take out your machine, what you're going to see is not only is there the machine, but also somewhere you're going to find a little, we call it the bag of stuff. So a little bag of all sorts of accessory feet, needles, other bobbins. Every machine, it is a little bit different. So if yours doesn't look quite like this, don't worry. But basically it can be found. I'm just going to flip this open. Sometimes they're put in the little accessory tray in the front. So see how this just opens? Sometimes you find them here. Sometimes they're in the box itself. So really, I just want to make sure that you realize you want to look for that bag. These are all your accessories. And we're going to talk about this later as we go through. Then on the right-hand side of every sewing machine, so on the right-hand side, I'm just going to turn this a little bit, okay? And what you're going to see is there is a little round piece. This is what is called your hand wheel. And if I turn the hand wheel like that, what you're going to see is when this goes, the needle goes up and down. So that is really important that you know that, right? So hand wheel, that's what makes your needle go up and down. Okay, so sometimes you'll hear someone say, adjust your hand wheel just a little bit. That is actually what they're talking about. The other thing on the right-hand side is your power cord and where your foot control goes. So a lot of our Singer machines have the power cord and foot control in one piece. So you just plug it in once. But there are a couple of our machines that have a power cord separate from the foot control. So a couple things just to look at. And this is, of course, your foot control. And I say that, I have had people call this all sorts of different things, pedals, that sort of stuff. But what happens is when you press this down, and I'm going to be quiet just a minute. Okay, so I'm going to be quiet. You hear that? The minute you step on this foot control, your machine is going to run. So this is like the gas pedal in your car, right? So that is important. All right. And one last thing, and I don't want to forget this for you all, okay? Don't want to forget this. This is also probably where your power switch on off is, right there. So just realize all that is on the right-hand side of your machine, okay? So Vanessa, I saw a couple things. So I neglected to say, everyone, one of my colleagues is actually, two of my colleagues are here today. Vanessa Dyson, who works with me with the education department with Singer. And then Amy Mulroney, she is also here working with us, and she works with Michael. So very excited to have them here. And Vanessa is going to be answering a few of your chat questions, everyone. So Vanessa, was there anything real quick before I move on? I think you're just answering. I just want to make sure we're on a level set for that.
Yeah, we're good. Somebody asked if it was okay to turn the hand wheel both directions.
And so Vanessa, just someone asked if you can turn the hand wheel forward and backwards, and yes, it's fine because our machines do go in reverse. So that is not a problem to do that at all. All right. So that's kind of the basics on the right-hand side of our Singer sewing machines. If we come to the top, and we're just, like I said, I'm just going to take a quick little tour, is the bobbin winder. And we're going to do that next week, okay? But I just want you to know what the spindle is. This is your bobbin winder where we're going to wind our bobbins. So that's right there. We're going to talk tension and stitch length and stitch width. We're going to do that a little bit later because every machine has that in a little different spot, everyone. However, they all do the same thing. So we'll work with that in the next couple lessons, okay? So just realize that actually, we will work with that later. But width and length and all these dials on the front, we're going to get to those. Now, I'm going to turn my Singer machine, and we were talking, I don't want to turn it too much here, but what I want you to see here is this area right in here. This is where all of our thread goes when we are threading our machine. So our thread goes right up and down into this area. The cool thing is, and I'm even going to tip this. So this is one of those things that we were talking earlier. If something is going to go wrong, this is where it'll go. But when I do this, I want you all to look right here. See where my finger is? I'm actually turning the hand wheel. Can you see a little metal clipper, little metal piece just came up? And then when I keep turning the hand wheel, it goes away. Can you all see that? So it comes up here. Come on, there we go. So now it's up at the top. If I do that, see how it's a little metal piece right there? Okay, and then it's gonna go away. See how it just went away? That was a better shot for that. That is called your take-up lever. And guys, I want to just say to you all that it's important you know what that piece is, because if the thread comes out of the take-up lever, you're gonna get a not nice looking stitch, and people don't realize that. And so because they don't realize that, they keep on going and keep on going with threading, and it's just not in that take-up lever. So again, it goes up and down, and I'll do that again so hopefully we can see. So it comes up, there's that little metal piece, and then when it goes down, that's how the stitch is being made. So really important you know that. Take-up lever, very, very important for that. Okay, So that's one of those words that you might hear and people are like, what is it? And that's what it is. So I'm also now, everybody, we're going to come down to the front of the machine. And I'm even going to, and Stacy, I know I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to move this in just a little bit closer. So hopefully we can see this area even a little bit closer. This area down here, again, super important. That is actually where your needle is. And everyone, it is truly important that you all are actually using the proper needles. I'm getting into my little case back here. But with the needles, we want to make sure that you are using the Singer needles, the needles that are made for your machine. They will come basically with a little package. This is what comes with most of our machines, is something that looks like this. But guys, if you're going to invest in something, invest in a needle, because you really want to actually change needles about every 8 hours of sewing. I know that seems like a lot, but if you have a good needle in, you're going to get good results. So please make sure you're using the proper needles. There are different styles of needles, but universal is the great needles to start with. That's what I just grabbed here, is the universal needles, but those are great needles to start with. So if you, again, if you're thinking about, oh, I need a couple other things for my sewing machine to get started, get some more needles, because you want to change those relatively frequently. Now on the back, so see where my hand is kind of behind my machine, so front, back, there is going to be a little lever. And this raises and lowers your presser foot. Some of them are on the side in here. Others are on back like this. But the important thing is that's where you go to raise your presser foot. And that's what this is called. It's the presser foot. Now, I know some of you know some of these terms, but goodness, I've been teaching new classes for beginning sewists. Like I think a lot of you may be beginning sewists. And I say, go to the presser foot lifter, and they're like, huh? So that's why it's important you know where it is. And it's just this piece back here. Every machine that we carry is going to have this little presser foot lifter, whether it's here, whether it's inside. Okay, so that's just to raise and lower your presser foot. And that's really, again, something very important. The other thing is the presser feet. There are different presser feet. I want to say this properly. Different presser feet for different stitches that you're going to use. And we're going to talk more about that as we go into our stitches. But what I want you to realize is the presser feet do come off and they just snap off. And I'm going to bring that right up here. And this is your standard presser foot. Okay, so this is your standard presser foot. It's what comes on your machines when you get them and when you take them out of the box. Some of the other presser feet, this little presser foot here, this one is something that comes with some machines and not with others. And I always do that. I always want to go the wrong way with the camera. But this one is for decorative stitching. And we're going to talk about those different feet as we go through this series. Okay. But I do want you to be aware that when we go ahead and bring this, and I'm going to move that presser foot just behind, and this is called an ankle, just like the ankle of your foot, because it's going to connect to the actual foot itself. And it's going to just snap on like that. And that ankle is going to lift your presser foot. So again, it's super easy, right? But unless you know, I have that, I have to smile a little bit because I have a saying, you don't know what you don't know. If you don't know, you don't know. Now I want you to think about that. It's very profound, right? But if you don't know something, it's like if I tell you to raise your presser foot, if you don't know what a presser foot is or where the lifter is, it's just the way it is. So guys, as I'm going through this again, all of our machines have these pieces. Okay, so all of our Singer machines have these pieces. It's just yours may be in a little different place. So when we get done, the video this is being recorded, everyone. So because it's being recorded, you can go through and say, oh, that's where it is on my machine. All right, so I think that is really important that you know that. Okay, so one of the last things, okay, so one of the last things I kind of want to talk about when we're in this area here is, and I'm going to tip up again. It's this area in here, and this is actually your bobbin area, everyone. This is your bobbin area. Now, the cool thing about the bobbin area is where you're going to have thread in the bobbin, thread on top, and that's what makes your stitch. Okay, because they connect. They actually connect down in here. And again, we're going to talk tension and threading and bobbin winding and all that stuff in our next session. But I want to show you on, now I'm looking on a couple of our other machines. Now, what I'll do, just because I don't want to get up and disrupt everything, some of you may have a bobbin case area that's in the front of your machine. It's actually in the front of your machine. And so what I'll do next time is I'll specifically call that out, because in this case, all I do is there's a little lever and I'm just going to take off the bobbin case cover. So I'm just going to take that off. And I had the opportunity, I want to say it was 2 years ago, to work with a group of our buyers here at Singer, and they really had not ever sewn before. And I started talking about bobbins, and everyone, these are your bobbins. You should stick with the type of bobbin that came with your machine. So I want to say almost all of our machines have a 15 class bobbin. This is also the style, or the, pardon me, I want to say this correctly. This is also something that I have lots of extra bobbins, because you always want to have the same color thread in the top as you do in the bottom. So be aware that I think, again, most of our machines come with 3 bobbins. You may want more than that. So that might be something to, again, think about putting in your toolkit, right, for that. But with the bobbin, it was fun because now I jumped around there, everyone. I hope you'll jump with me. I'm going to go back to my story, because one of our buyers, her job was to buy bobbins, and she had never worked with anything like this before. And she said, oh my gosh, this is what I buy hundreds of thousands of every day, are these bobbins. And it was like, oh, wow. So it's really cool when you actually know what you are working with. So these are your bobbins, and they just fit right in there. And so this is your, again, your bobbin case area is down below. Your bobbins are there. And I think, again, it's really important if you're thinking about getting something else for your machines, needles, bobbins. Those are the two. Get some more needles, get some more bobbins, and that'll help you get going with your sewing. And last but not least, this on our heavy duty, our Singer heavy duty here, the reverse is pretty obvious because it says reverse. But again, on all of your machines, no matter which one it is, there's some lever somewhere that kind of pushes down, and that is your reverse. Okay, so that is your reverse. So Vanessa, I'm asking Vanessa because she and I gave her my notes, and was there something that I may have forgotten for everyone before I move on from this? And are there any questions? So I'm just going to stop for a moment and see if there are any questions for us.
There were some questions about, are there different size bobbins?
So Vanessa just asked, and or one of you asked, excuse me, that are there different size bobbins? And the answer certainly is yes. There are 66 class bobbins, there are 15 class bobbins, and with the bobbins, you noticed that the bobbin I put in that came with this particular machine was a plastic bobbin. There are plastic and metal 15 class bobbins. Guys, the important thing to remember is to get the same style. So I would not put a metal 15 class bobbin in this machine because basically it didn't come with it. So you want to stick with the type of bobbin that came with your machine. And again, the style is very important, and there are different ones. So you just want to make sure for your machine that you have the proper one. Great question, great question. Anything else, Vanessa, before I move on? All right. I do want to share. I'm laughing a little bit because this is kind of like I made a mini sewing room. This is not my sewing room, but I made a mini sewing room, and just like my sewing room, I just tend to put things wherever they may be. So it's just kind of like goes wherever. I do want to share, again, all of our different Singer machines, they do have what's called an open arm or free arm. You may have heard of it called. And so I'm just going to back up just a little bit. And when I pull, this is our little accessory tray. This comes off like that. So you can see it comes off. There is a little compartment in the front. And so this makes it so you have more of a free arm area, or again, open arm area. And that's for when you're doing sleeves or something that's really small. So I think it's kind of important that you know that all of our Singer machines that Michaels carries has this free arm. And so you just have to figure out how to get it up, get that accessory tray or what's making it more of a flatbed. Got to make sure you know how to get that on and off. Now, I say that because I have had people that have never been able to get this off, right? So they're afraid, and they don't know where it should go or how it should go on or off. So just be careful. I have another, gosh, you guys, by the end of this little series, you're going to realize I have lots of sayings, and good or bad, lots of sayings. But if something is super difficult, just stop, just wait and go, it should be a little bit easier than that. So when I like take out and put in a needle, or when I'm taking a presser foot off or anything like that, I really just kind of think and say, okay, this shouldn't be as hard. Now, taking your accessory tray off, you may have to pull a little hard. But again, you shouldn't feel like you're breaking anything. So just be kind of aware of that as we're going through. So, okay, everybody, we've done the right side of our Singer machines. We've done the threading and the take-up lever and that sort of thing, presser foot pressure, bobbin case area. The dials on the front of whichever machine you have, that's how you choose a stitch. And again, we're going to talk about that later, but I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer here because these turn, and you can see there are different colors and different styles of stitches. That is true on all of our machines, is you just dial, like I have set up right here for a straight stitch. So you're just going to turn the dial. There's my buttonhole. There are different stitches here. So again, every machine, no matter what it is, so whether it's our Singer Heavy Duty or our mending machine, the M1000 that we have in back, all of those actually, you just kind of look at it and choose the stitch you want to do. So it's really pretty straightforward for that. So we're going to work hard on that, but I wanted you to realize that you can turn that dial. This is your stitch length here, but stitch length might be in a different spot on another machine, but you just kind of look for what those are. And I think that is very, very important. Okay. And Vanessa, we're doing good. All right, beautiful. There was one last thing that I did want to talk to you all about, and this is something that is on some machines, but not on others. And I'm just gonna turn this back again here. There's a little dial. This is where you wind your bobbin, this metal piece. Ignore that for now. There's a little dial that has a plus minus. That is how much pressure, so it's this one right here. You can see that. That's how much pressure is on your presser foot. I have to practice that because I always say it wrong. So the pressure on your presser foot. And what that means is when I do lower my presser foot, it can either push really super hard or it can push just a little bit. And that depends on the fabric. And so, if you have heavier fabric, I always think it's a little counterintuitive. If you have super heavy fabric, you don't want to push as heavy because the fabric will go easy. If you have lightweight fabric, you want to press harder because there's not as much to go through. So we'll go through that, but that's what that dial is. And so again, I think it's just, again, learning those terms, figuring out what those things are. All right. Okay, everybody, I'm sitting here, Vanessa and Amy are smiling because I think we're getting what we need to. So now let's go ahead and I'm going to move my machine back a little bit and let's talk about some fabric terms and then some tools. Okay, so I have, again, I smile. If you can't smile at yourself, who can you smile at, right? Sometimes we do things that I was ready for me to, in other words, I was ready for me to dump this off the back of my table and that would not have been good. So yay, I didn't do that, everybody. So let's start with some fabrics. Now, I had the fortune, can I go ahead and talk about fabric from Michael? I just wanted to make sure because you guys, I was lucky enough to for Michael's to work with us here at Singer again, and just gave me helped me get, I should say, some beautiful fabric to play around with, and I just love this pink fabric. I think it's really beautiful. But the other thing is, if you've ever heard anybody talk about fabric, I was really impressed with what's called the hand. And I don't know, it may be kind of an old-fashioned term. I've been sewing since I was about 7 years old, so I guess that makes me old-fashioned. But it's like if I go like that and how that feels, it's just so pretty. So if you ever hear anybody talk about the hand of fabric, I was just really impressed with how lovely this fabric is. Now, something else, when you hear about fabric and someone, you might be working with a pattern that asks you to find the selvage of the fabric. And I'm going to bring this up really close. The selvage of the fabric is the side of the fabric that basically is woven to an end. And then the cut side like this, can you see how, I'll do it this way, maybe there we go. Can you see a little bit how this is fraying? That's the cut edge. The selvage edge just is not cut. So if you've ever hear saying put two selvage edges together, it means folding, so these are together like that. So selvage edges are the woven piece, and then this is like your frayed or your cut edge. So if you ever heard anybody say that, selvage is basically right there. That's the part that's not going to fray. Now, the other two things when I was helping teach, again, some new sewists, and I was talking about fabric, I would say the right and wrong side of fabric, and everyone looked at me like I was a crazy person. And why I say that is the right side of the fabric is usually when you're working with a print. And the thing is, with working with a print, you have a pretty side, which is the right side. And then you have a dull side, which is the wrong side. So I want you to realize that the right side of the fabric, if you ever hear that term, and again, in lots of patterns and projects and things, people will say, put right sides together. That means folding the pretty sides together. So you're exposing that dull side. So right side is pretty, wrong side is basically the dull side of your fabric. So that was really, again, something that I take for granted because I've sewn for a while. And so it's important that you all realize that. And the last thing, I'm going to bring back this nice, pretty piece of pink fabric here. And if you see, let me get a little bit closer. Hopefully you can see. I'm pulling on this and it is not stretching. So this is not stretching. This is a woven fabric, okay? So it's not stretching. If someone talks about bias, if I say a 45-degree angle, basically what you're doing is you're taking the point and then you pull. The bias stretches on woven fabric. So that's what actually a bias is, all right? So that's what your bias is. So it pulls along the bias, which is at basically a 45-degree angle, okay? These are both woven fabrics. Now, I'm gonna go ahead, come over here, and just grab, this is actually a little piece of t-shirt fabric. Now, this is gonna be a knit fabric. And if you look closely, and I know I won't be able to show it on camera, but if you guys look in your closet at some of the things you have, woven it looks like a crosshatch. A knit fabric, if you look closely, it looks like little loops. And so that's what this is. And knit just stretches every which way. So that's what a knit fabric is. And knits and wovens both can actually be made from different fibers. So it can be made from something like a cotton or a polyester or a silk or, the different fibers. So that doesn't make the style of fabric, that just makes what kind it is, okay? So that's a little bit, hopefully that helped you understand maybe some terms, I hope, a little bit on the fabric itself. Any questions that came up on that, Vanessa?
You talk about the hand of a fabric a little bit more. What makes one
it
fabric
feel
different
good?
from another?
Yeah. So Vanessa just asked, I use that term, the hand of the fabric. So sometimes when you go in, so you can always tell a sewist. So now you all, okay, so you all are going to be sewists now because you're going to go into Michael's, or you're going to go into and buying your fabric, and you're going to go up and you're going to start feeling it like this, because that's what sewists do, is they feel fabric. And you go up to someone who, and we can't do this now because of COVID, but like our colleagues will have made something and we're like, can I just touch the fabric? Because that's kind of what that hand is. Basically, you're going to feel, when you're feeling the hand or working with the hand of fabric, it is the weight of the fabric. So like if you were touching denim, it wouldn't fold nicely, because denim is a much heavier fabric. So that hand is actually very heavy, and it doesn't squish up like this. Super lightweight fabrics, you're going to like, this is the woven is a very soft, that's also, so it's just how the fabric feels really is what the hand is. So it's how it kind of crunches, and then you can see if it's going to wrinkle or not. It's how soft it is and how heavy it is. All right. Hopefully that helped a little bit, but honestly, it really is kind of just how it makes you feel. It really is that way. All right. Okay. So I say, we talked about a little bit about fabric, right and wrong side, bias, selvage, hand. That's always kind of interesting. But another couple things with tools, guys, and I just brought this little piece out. It's called So It Goes. This particular little piece is a great thing that Michael's carries that you are actually get you started. And it's also a great little box to carry all your goodies in. So I'm just going to turn this just a little bit here. With this little piece, it actually comes with a lot of thread on top, everyone, and I actually move them off. This thread is actually more so for hand sewing, I found, because it is something that if you look at the thread, so I want you to always, when you do this, you always want, before I go any further, you always want a good quality thread when you're sewing on your sewing machine. It's different than hand sewing, because when you're hand sewing, it's a lot slower. Your machine is going to go you know, hundreds of stitches per minute. So because of that, I think that is, it's really important you realize you need a nice, strong quality thread. And if Vanessa and I were talking earlier, if you actually are sewing and your thread is continuing to break, so you're sewing with your sewing machine, your thread is breaking, what I want you to remember is change your needle. So remember, we talked needles earlier, change your needle. And then if it still is breaking, it probably is the thread, okay? So make sure that you have a good quality thread. I like this thread, beautiful colors, came in the Sew It Goes, but it is more so for hand sewing. What I did is I went to Michael's and then I got myself some dual duty thread. This really is a heavier duty, nice, all-purpose sewing thread. It is 100% polyester. Yeah, it's 100% polyester. Just wanted to make sure. But it is just a really nice sewing thread for your sewing machine. So guys, make sure that you get a good quality thread. You're taking time to make something. Thread is key, and needles, as we already said. So needles are also very important. Some of the other cool things in this little basket is I find I really use a pin cushion, and this little pin cushion came in our Sew It Goes little piece. But the cool thing about this little pin cushion, our machine actually, or I say our machine, gosh, our Sew It Goes came with some really nice dressmaker pins. So some really nice basic little pins. I know it's kind of hard to see, but basic little pins here. All right. And so those are really nice pins. But I find that as you expand, as you start to do more as a sewist, okay, what I want you to realize is there are other pins out there too. And there are what are called quilting pins. These are a little bit longer, and they have a little bit easier head to pull in and out when you're working with quilting. And then the other type of pin that I really like is it's called a glass head pin. They're a little bit shorter, a little bit, a little bit stronger, but the glass head is it's easier for me to get my finger around, okay? So it's easier for me to get my finger around, but when I use an iron, the dressmaker pins, they're all metal, so I don't have to worry about it. But when I use an iron, the glass head will not melt, whereas the quilters will. So you have to be careful of that if you're ironing over your pins. Now, all of these different pins you can find on michaels.com or go to your Michaels store, because they definitely have all of these. I was looking up, actually, I'm a huge quilt pin person and got my bulk package of quilting pins, so that's really important. But again, your basic pins come right in this little Sew It Goes. Measuring tape, key, right within, again, that comes with the Sew It Goes as well. So I use my measuring tape all the time. I am one, I will wrap it up like this because I think it keeps better. So that's there. Your Singer machines do come with a seam ripper, but I will tell you guys, I have like 12 seam rippers, because inevitably, no matter what we're doing, basically, inevitably, you're going to have to unsew or just rip out a little bit. So make sure you have a good seam ripper again with that. Also, there's lots of other things. There's a little needle threader here. There's hand sewing needles. There's pins, and there's little, snaps, and a few buttons and safety pins, as well as the dressmaker pins. So all of those are there. And also in the Sew It Goes, there is a little pair of scissors. Now, guys, this is a great starter set, right? But as you sew more, you really are going to need at least one other style of scissor. And I personally, these shears are very important. They're a little bit bigger. They let you, when you're cutting, see how that's running right across my hand? See how they're bent like that? So you're going to want to invest in a nice pair of scissors like this, and those shears are really important for you. Okay, so this is if you've heard someone say you need a pair of dressmaker shears or shears, it's right there. Okay, so that's what that difference is. And sorry, Vanessa, I saw that pull up. I went by it real quickly, but the seam ripper, okay, the seam ripper, if we can see that, there we go. That's a good shot of that. This allows you to actually go ahead and take out a seam that basically you put in a wrong place or something happened or you had to adjust. That is actually what allows you to take out that thread, that seam. So
will you just mention pinking shears as well and what they are?
perfect, yeah. So the question that Vanessa, that one of you asked was about pinking shears. And these are straight edge shears. So again, these are a Singer brand. And I see someone said dressmaking scissors, yeah, shears like this. The pinking shears have like a serrated, if you have like a serrated knife at home, there are, that's basically what it is. And when you cut, it has a little, it looks like little mountains or teeth or whatever you want to call it. Usually pinking shears are used around corners because what the pinking shear does is it takes out extra fabric. So if you're sewing around a curve or a corner, what you may want to do is actually use those pinking shears, and that will help it fold nicely. So pinking shears really around curves or to just finish an edge in that kind of zigzaggy. Vanessa, I'm gonna ask Vanessa. I have an expert here with me. Do you have another reason for pinking shears?
Just if you want that decorative edge.
Decorative edge. So again, you want.
It makes a pretty edge on something that doesn't fray, like felt or leather, vinyl, suede, things like that. It's going to give a pretty edge.
Great.
Or also on denim, if you want it to fray, it's going to fray quicker.
That way. So I don't know if you all just heard that, but I'll try and remember what Vanessa said, because besides curves and things like that, I see someone saying, yep, you probably heard, but you know, leather, felt, that sort of thing to make a pretty edge. And also, you know, if you just want, if you want your denim to fray, that also works great. So thank you, Vanessa. That's wonderful. One other tool that I think is going to be super important for you is some sort of marking tool or marking utensil. And there are lots of different marking utensils. Again, I was looking, making sure, you know, there are different, again, marking pencils that are, or marking pencils, marking pins, things that go away. The blue ones usually go away in either water. Some of them are air erasable. So there are lots of different marking utensils. It really, I have tried a lot of different ones, everybody, and I use different ones for different things. When you have a pen, an actual marking pen rather than chalk or pencil, this one is a water soluble. You do have to be you do have to test, because you don't want to like put a mark all the way down the front of your garment or your pillow or whatever you're making, and it doesn't go away when you wash it, or maybe your fabric can't be washed. So you're going to need a couple different styles. So what I actually like to do is I go all the way back. I like to use Taylor's chalk. And the reason why I like Taylor's chalk is it is just a special type of chalk. And then you can rub your fabric together really fast and it goes away. And that way, you don't have to really worry about, is it going to wash? Is it going to disappear? I saw something come up and someone said, you know, sometimes you can press it away, but some don't press. I mean, there are just lots of different ones. So try a couple different ones. They're not that expensive. And you know what, guys, it really is something that it becomes a personal preference for you. So you'll have a few different ones that you're going to want to try. So I'm thinking now, put these back in here. We talked about our scissors. We talked about thread. We talked about needles, everyone. One last thing, I mentioned it earlier, but I do want to reach across. I want to share with you this beautiful iron. And, you know, I used to think, honestly, and it hasn't been that long ago, that I used to think that an iron was an iron until you start doing a lot of sewing. And one of the things I want to share with you, and I know this is going to be a little hard to see, maybe if I do it this way. Can you all see that little tip there? See this special tip that we have at the top of our Singer iron? The reason why I'm drawing your attention to that is that way you can get into corners, but also in between buttons, all sorts of things like that. So guys, one way or another, you need to have a nice iron that is, this happens to be a steam iron. So it has something that gets hot enough, has a great tip to it. This one has a nice weight to it, so you don't have to press down as hard. Lots of really nice things. And I almost forgot, it also has a very long cord, because I know when I'm working with ironing, sometimes I iron my fabric, right? So I iron the whole piece of fabric and I need to go a long way. And that cord makes a big difference for that. So, so I didn't want to forget about that iron as we went forward. All right, so Vanessa and Amy, I'm looking at my time. We're doing, I think, really just fine on time. Are there any other questions that have come up for us as we went through?
Are tracing wheels still used these days?
So, wow, that's a great question. And I will say that there are not, tracing wheels, not as much today. I think that they come up with different tools that we tend to use more so, like the chalks or the pins, that sort of thing. Tracing wheels with the tracing paper, it's just not as convenient. So I wouldn't say that we use those very much today.
What about rotary cutters?
Rotary cutters. So the question was about, what about rotary cutters? We can address, rotary cutters are great. And so I actually can address that in some of our classes coming up. So I'll make a little note of that, because I think that, again, rotary cutters, I have two different styles. I think we definitely use those. So I'll address that in one of our upcoming pieces.
Should we wash fabric before you use it?
The question about washing fabric, I'm smiling a little bit here, because I think it's almost like, if you'll forgive me here, it's like putting the toilet paper on one way or another, you know. So some people actually will say, yes, you should always wash your fabric. Other people don't like to wash their fabric. Here's my kind of rule of thumb, everyone, is I definitely will, if I know that whatever I'm making is going to get washed a lot, then guess what? I am going to wash my fabric. If I'm going to dry clean it, I want to dry clean it first. So that's the thing, is if you know, like if I'm making a kid's pair of shorts, I'm going to wash my fabric straight away, because I know those are going to get washed a lot. So that's kind of my rule of thumb with that. So
machine maintenance, like how often should they be serviced?
Yeah. So Vanessa, one of you asked about machine maintenance, and I'm going to move my iron. Just so guys, with machine maintenance, certainly they should be, we say at least once a year for bringing your machine to a service tech or getting it looked over. I think that's really important, but you should be doing machine maintenance as well, everyone. And that means, you know, taking out your bobbin cover and dusting in here. So again, really important to take that out, brush that out. When we thread next time, what we'll do when we thread is we'll go ahead and I'll talk with you about when you thread one way, you really don't want to pull your thread back. You want to keep your thread basically going in one direction. So trim and pull the thread out. That helps you keep your machine in better working order so the threads aren't building up in there. So you can certainly do that. But another part of machine maintenance, real quick, is machine maintenance means changing your needles as well. And again, I cannot stress that enough, that you need to change your needle every like eight hours of sewing or when you start a new project. And why that's so important is if you do just get your needle is bent just a little bit, what can happen is it can actually hurt your bottom area of your machine. So just make sure you change your needles. So that's also part of machine maintenance. So other questions, Vanessa? She's typing away, so I know you guys had some great questions, but I thought I saw something out about compressed air. I actually, our technicians don't like when we use compressed air, and the main reason is because it pushes the lint back into parts of the machine that you can't get into. So that's why just use your brush, get a little brush it out. And so that becomes real important. So I don't recommend compressed air at all. So anything else, Vanessa? She's working so hard over there.
Not really.
All right.
You might want to just kind of share what you're going to be talking about in some of the next sessions.
Thank you, Vanessa. So guys, hopefully this was quite, again, as a new person, I really find that, you know, a lot of times it's just knowing something. So I appreciate your taking the time to be here with me, talking a little bit about, you know, again, the machine and what tools can help you. I'm going to introduce some more tools, but actually next week, so we're going to do this again 5 weeks in a row. So next week, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about threading and winding a bobbin. And what I find is with threading and winding a bobbin, the interesting piece is there are some tips. Like some people, when you thread, we don't get our thread in the tension all the way. And so then it doesn't look very nice. Our stitch doesn't look nice. So we're going to talk about that. How do we make sure that's right? And how do we make sure we wind a bobbin properly and not putting thread over thread? That's why we need a few different bobbins. And so we're going to be doing that and making a stitch, making sure we have tension, the proper tension for next time. So that really is like next time. And then we're going to go into the different stitches. So like if you look on the front of your machine, you're going to see there are lots of different stitches. What do I use them for? Why are they there? And so, you know, we'll talk about that in upcoming sessions. We're going to talk about a straight stitch, zigzag. What's a stretch stitch? Why do we want them? What about decorative? How do we make things work? So that's coming up as we're going forward. So anything else before we finish out? I think this was.
Tell us again the different properties between hand sewing thread and machine thread.
Oh, so another great last question. Hand sewing thread is really just, sometimes it can look a little bit fuzzier if you look at it close, sort of thing. I think that's how I can tell hand sewing versus machine sewing thread. But really for me, turn here just a minute. Again, machine sewing thread is a little bit heavier and it's made with what are called long staples. It's longer staples of pieces of polyester. And without getting too technical into how thread is made, there are little meshes and you push the polyester, basically it's a man-made product through these meshes, and you take the pieces and twist those together. That's what makes thread. Well, if you have little bitty bits twisted together, they're not as strong as longer pieces. So that's why, again, threads like, I got this at Michael's, the dual duty thread. It's great thread. There are different styles of dual duty thread, but basically the all-purpose sewing thread, that's what I would use. And it really works well. But any good quality thread, if you're looking at a thread and it looks fuzzy, that's probably just fine for hand sewing, but you really want to invest in something because hand sewing is a lot slower. Machines are going to go a lot faster and you need a stronger thread. All right. So Vanessa, anything else? All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed today. I hope it was worthwhile for you to hang with me. I see a couple people waving. Thank you so much. And again, next week, don't forget, next week, about the same time, exact same time, what we're going to do is we're going to go through threading, winding a bobbin, and making sure that we get our tension set properly. So that's usually once we do that, you're good to go. So that's what we're doing next week. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. And Stacy, I'm going to say, one last thing. Sorry. My people are helping me here. If you are working and basically working with our products with Michael's, if you want to share on Facebook or Instagram, use the hashtag Make It With Michael's, hashtag Michael's Classes, and or use hashtag Singer Sewing. We want to see what you do, everyone. So really, thank you so much for reminding me. Don't forget to share with us what you're doing because we would love to see that. All right, everybody. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.